And when mama went and bought me some shoes, it didn't bother me that they were XJ 900s or McGregor's. That didn't matter to me. I just still wore them because mama got me them shoes. But once I got conscious of what fashion was, no longer could I go to Payless and get Pro Wings. I discovered Nikes. Yeah, Dad, you gonna buy me something? You better get me some Nikes, man. I want some Nikes. I want some K-Swiss. I want some Jordans. I want some Guess jeans. I want to wear Polo. I don't want to wear Oshkosh Bagosh no more. I don't want to wear Rustlers. No, put the Rustlers back and go get me some Jabos or something like that. I'll wear that. So what I'm trying to say here is that man went from a place of being innocent where they wasn't aware of what was going on outside of that little bubble to a place of being conscious, and now they're conscious of what's going on, and now they got to deal with it. So God says, woman, you're going to have children. And they get busy right away if you go read the scriptures, man. It says Adam had relations with his wife. That's what the scripture says, relation. Eddie Murphy didn't make that up, relation. Yeah, it's in the scriptures. He said, Adam had relations with his wife. And the first two kids that they gave birth to was Cain and Abel. They give birth to Cain and Abel, and all of a sudden we start seeing some things happen that wasn't happening in the garden, start happening in this new world of things. They give birth to Cain and Abel and Cain are given jobs too. See, if you're going to live in Adam's house, not only did Adam have to work, but Cain and Abel had to work too. That's something we need to teach our kids. You want some shoes, you go to work, go to work, go to work, go to work. But anyway, Cain and Abel starts working, and they start, Cain became the tiller of the ground. His job was to work the ground. Abel's job was to work with the lamb and the sheep. And so both of them have the responsibility of giving God sacrifices, right? And so they give God sacrifices. God accepts Abel's sacrifice because it pleased God, and he rejects Cain's sacrifice because it didn't please God. Now Cain mad. First time we saw fury. There's going to be a lot of first times in this message, I'm trying to tell you. A whole lot of them. First time we see a man show anger. And so what Cain does is, Cain convinces Abel to take a walk with him. They go out into a field. Cain kills Abel and buries him in the ground, and God shows up with a similar question that he gave his dad. He asked his dad, where are you? He asked Cain, where's your brother? Then we start seeing another verse. Cain gets smart alecky with God. Cain says, am I my brother's keeper? First time in the history of mankind that a man starts disrespecting God. Am I my brother's keeper? Knowing what he did, knowing full well what he had done, for the first time now, we're starting to see man lose his affinity for righteousness. Amen. You know what you did, Cain. Go and fess up and tell the truth. Hey, I did this. Oh, God, yes, I know where he is. Maybe you can help me get it right. But instead of confessing what you've done, Cain, now you want to try to throw off on God and act like you innocent. That's right. You can't go back now once you start down a certain path. You can't go back. You can't go back to the dispensation of innocence because you now are aware of what murder is and you got blood on your hands. And God says, Cain, your brother's blood is crying from the ground. Yes, Lord. I know what you did. See, here's the tripped out part about it, man. All along, if you ever pay attention, all along, God was trying to give man an opportunity to fess up. From the time his daddy fell to the time Cain fell, God was trying to give people an opportunity to make things right and fess up. Maybe God would have dealt with them differently if they would have fessed up. But because they refused to fess up, God had to deal with them in this way. He says, okay, Cain, now I got to drive you out. Yes. Which means that first his daddy and his mama was driven out from the Garden of Eden, but God was still with them. They were still in God's presence. However, now God says, I got to drive you out not only from the presence of your mother and your father, but I got to drive you out from my presence. And Cain says, Lord, this sentence, this punishment is too heavy for me. It's too much for me to bear. Somebody's going to kill me. Yet God still shows Cain love even in his mess. He said, Cain, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a mark on you that will distinguish you. And if any man kills you, I will avenge your death 7 times, 7-fold. Which was still a good deal. Considering what he had done, it was still a pretty good deal. To me, to me, it was a good deal. God could have just let him out there and led him to a slaughter. So now, Cain goes forth, and now we're really starting to see how man reacts independent from God. Because now, God sends Cain not only out of the presence of his parents, but out of the presence of God. And so now we see how man reacts independent of God. Cain starts having kids. Cain has a son. And the first thing he does with his son is he builds a city and names it after his son. Then his sons started having kids, and they began to discover how many skills they had. They began to discover that they were creative, that they had a way of creating things with their hands. They began to discover that they had skills for music. And one of them got so bold until he finally was the first to have 2 wives. He has 2 wives, and not only does he have 2 wives, he starts taking on an attitude as if he's God. He starts making decrees. And he says, he even mocks what God told Cain. He says that if Cain shall be avenged 7-fold, then I shall be avenged 77-fold if somebody try to kill me. What we see now is that man is starting to discover that they are creative, that they have ways of doing things, and they start making themselves like God. And the situation is getting bad. The situation is getting worse. Man has really become more than what he's thinking that he's more than what he really is. So now, the attitude of man is, who needs God? Don't that sound like a lot of us today? Yes, right. I make my own money. I built the house from the ground up. I drive a Mercedes or a Bentley or whatever. I don't need God. Who needs God? I take care of my own bills. I take care of my own needs. I got myself this far. I got myself through school. I got myself where I am. Who needs God? And that's the attitude that man had, because watch this, they were creative, they were building cities, they were creating things with their hands, they were gifted, but what they didn't understand is all good things come from above. Every good gift, every creative gift, everything that God has given you, it comes from Him. Amen. So you should never ever take credit for what belongs to God. Oh man, I wish I had some people in there today who was serious about this. You should never ever take credit for what belonged to God, because you know that when you didn't have nothing, who you were looking to. Yes. When you didn't have the help you needed, who were you looking to? When you were down and out, when you needed some support, who were you looking to? Were you looking to God, or were you looking to yourself? Because there's going to come a situation where your money is not going to be able to get you out of it. There's going to come a situation where the things that you gain, your friends and your family, is not going to be able to bail you out. There's going to come a situation where people who have been patting you on the back ain't going to be anywhere to be found.
That's right. Amen.
You're going to need something else.
Amen.
You're going to need God.
That's right.
And so, finally, Adam and Eve has another son. And that son, his name is Seth. And I guess somewhere along the line, Seth